Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at the regular workshop meeting, which we hold once a month, and then a regular meeting at the end of the month. July 10th, 2017, 6:32 p.m., held at City Hall at 8 North Elmhurst Road. And I am the mayor, Mayor Nicholas Helmer, and we have with us a quorum. Can we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Alderman Ludwigson?
Here.
Alderman Rosenthal?
Here.
Alderman Dolick?
Here.
Alderman Messer? Here. Alderman Williamson?
Here. We have a quorum to proceed. However, why don't we introduce the rest of the crowd up here? Mike, do you want to start?
Michael Ducharme, Finance Director.
Peter Falcone, Assistant to the City Administrator.
Dan Peterson, Director of Building Development.
Morning, Morgan Adams, City Clerk.
Joe Wade, City Administrator.
Kevin Carney, City Attorney.
Karen Schulteis, Deputy Clerk.
Al Steffen, Chief of Police.
And
Preston is City Treasurer.
least,
And Fire Marshal.
last but not least, Parade Marshal. You didn't start any fires. Thank you. You did a great job. Okay, so we have a quorum, and we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Dan Peterson, please. I would ask everyone to silence their cell phones, but they don't work down here anyway, so we'll be fine, I think. Okay. Joe, you want to take it?
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is the approval of the minutes with, beginning with the June 26th regular council meeting minutes. We have executive session meeting minutes and the June 28th Chicago Executive Airport Joint Workshop meeting minutes. Is there any?
So we have a lot of minutes.
Yes, sir.
Has everyone gotten a copy of them?
Yes.
Okay, are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
I thought maybe we should say for the executive session for voting an open session that not for public release.
Yeah.
So what do you want me to do?
Just when they do the motion, just say the executive session minutes are not for public release.
Okay, the executive minutes are not for public release, did I say it right?
Yes.
And what else are we voting on? The minutes we were just talking about? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve those minutes? Is there a motion?
So move.
We have a motion, we have a second, please?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion, additions, deletions, corrections? If not, then let's take a roll call, please.
Alderman Williamson? Aye. Alderman Messer?
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson?
Aye.
Alderman Rosenthal?
Aye.
Alderman Dolick?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Joe, what's next?
We don't have any presentations tonight, but we do have the appointment of William Kearns to the Police Pension Board. Mr. Kearns is
Is
served
he in
city
the house
very
this
well.
evening?
He is.
40,000 people out there. Mr. Kearns, could you kindly stand up, address the board, and say why in the world would you want to serve one more time in one more venue? Would you like me to do that? Yes, I
Sure.
think that would be very kind of you. Thank you.
I was asked, and when you're asked and you have the opportunity to serve, you serve. And I do have a particular affinity for the officers that do such a great job protecting our city and its citizens. So I'd be honored to be part of that board.
Okay, and that's the Police Pension Board?
Correct.
Is that the full name? I never know if we had
I believe that's true, yes. Police Pension Board, correct? Yeah.
All right, we have an appointment by the mayor. We have that person here. Most people know Mr. Kearns. He's been involved with our city. How many years were you city clerk?
8-year sentence, Your Honor.
And you stand convicted. All right. Are there
Am I right, Wendy? Yeah.
Yes.
any questions coming down the line? Alderman Williamson? We have Alderman Messer.
I have no questions.
We have Alderman Dolick.
No questions.
Alderman Rosenthal.
No questions, thank you.
Alderman Ludwigson.
Perfect fit, thank you for doing it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, you're
Glad
welcome.
you came out. And, you know, it's not the easiest job, but it isn't the hardest job either, so
No.
enjoy it. Call anyone but me if you have a problem.
All right, great. Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank all of you.
Thank you.
Item 7, citizen concerns and comments.
We haven't appointed him.
Motion to appoint, accept the appointment.
Well, let's have a motion to accept this appointment.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion to do that, and we have a second, and we can take another roll call if we like. Let's go.
Okay, Alderman Musser,
Aye.
Alderman Williamson, Alderman Rosenthal,
Aye.
Alderman Dolick,
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We move on to citizens' concerns and comments. Is there any?
Yes, sir.
Alderman,
We
any?
have an item from Ms. Peggy Lee about the sewer rates.
Peggy Lee. Isn't that a great name? Did you read the article I wrote about Peggy Lee in the last newsletter? No comment. She's a very famous person, so.
I'm Peggy Lee, 202 South Owen Place in Prospect Heights, been a resident for 35 years. And I just had some questions and concerns about the rate increase. And first of all, I just want to thank you all for the work that you've done on that. I mean, we really need to maintain and do some proactive work on our sewers for as old as they are. Most of my comments come from the articles in the paper, and before I even start that, a lot of people don't go to the meetings, a lot of people don't visit the website, they just don't have time. Is there some way that you all can identify in the website these important issues to the people so they don't have to go and look at all the meetings or be present at the meetings? Because I think something like this is very important, an increase. And if they can go to the website and there can be a flag out there that says, read this, this is important, I think that would help a lot.
It's a good point. You also know, of course, we're being televised, so maybe
Yes,
that
I do.
helps too.
Yes, I do, but people are so busy nowadays, they just don't have the time. And Monday may not be a good date for them to attend. So we have the opportunity to use the media, you know, and to get out the news to the people. And if that is something that would improve the situation, that would be very helpful.
So you would like to see updates like in our e-news, which comes out every week, and where else?
E-news would be great because I think a lot of people read the e-news. That's a good thing. Thank you, Peter, for being instrumental in that. And perhaps just a flash note on the website
Or
for
status, or
important
what's
news.
the next step, or anything like that?
Well, not really status, just that we're raising the rates. We're planning on raising the rates. We're talking about it. So they just don't find out about it right before the vote is being taken.
All right.
There's already information on the website about the sewer rate study and the sewer rate discussions which have taken place already at Town Hall, and the speakers who participated. So there is something on the website. Peter, it's on the website now, am I correct? It was on the website.
We've had numerous articles that we've posted. We can put those back up again. I know exactly what Ms. Lee is referring to, something, and I do believe our website has the ability to do like a special notice that blinks when you go on there. It's generally used for emergencies, but I can see what we can do. We've never really, I think we've used it only once or twice in the past for like a weather emergency. But I'm going to see what our capability is of using that for important information like the increase in the sewer rates.
That would be great. Thanks, Peter. I know I've talked with many of our neighbors, and that was a concern of theirs, so I just wanted to bring it up. Now, most of my questions, of course, were from the newspaper articles that were in yesterday and the day before. They talked about the new revenue that that you'll get from the increase, and it made a statement that they are used only to operate and maintain the system, and then they talked a little bit about the camera study that you were planning on doing. If you do the camera study, does that mean increased rates in addition to what you're talking about now because of the words operate and maintain that was in the paper?
Alderman Williamson, you could probably answer that quickly. We usually don't go on a back and forth, but there's hardly anybody here, so
Oh, good.
we'll take the time. Well, it has to do with time.
Okay,
And,
sure, I
We'll
understand.
take the time to do that now, though. Go ahead.
What you're referring to is what we call televising the system, which takes the camera and goes through the entire system and tells the condition of it. The way that the rate study was prepared was really in a worst-case scenario, assuming that it was going to be worse than what we truly found out. So when we do the televising, we're hoping to see something better than what we expected. So the $20 a month, albeit is the beginning, I don't think it would go up from there. If anything, I think it may go down.
Yeah, I know they had a comment about the Maryland-based firm had the options to double, triple, and quadruple, and your choice was to triple it. So I was just curious as,
Our approach, I don't mean to cut you off, Ms. Lee, I'm
sure,
sorry.
that's okay.
Our approach was to start at that higher level and maintain it so that you weren't getting these $2 and $3 and $4 increases annually. So they gave us a few different approaches. We could start it at $12 and then next year go to 16, then the following year go to 20, and then go up to 28 over a period of 10 years, whereas we're really going $20 kind of across the board with minimal increases as we go. And we haven't decided what those increases would be yet. But, you know, our other option was to sell the system to another entity who was starting out at a $26, roughly $26 a month fee, and then we have zero control over the increases.
That's the Illinois Water
Yes.
Association? Okay.
So that's, when you're referencing, you know, did we, out of the gate, we tripled it? Yeah, we had to triple it because, number one, you know, for starters, you were underpaying the value of it anyway. So at $650, it couldn't support itself, and that's why Old Town Sanitary District isn't here anymore. It wasn't taking in enough money to sustain itself.
Sure.
So, and I don't know what that actual number should have been over the past decade,
Okay.
but, you know, the $20 a month puts us where we need to be.
Okay. The other concern is if you do find something that's troublesome that needs to be fixed, what staff is going to take care of that?
We would subcontract out that work.
Okay, but that's considered in the rate increase?
Well, that's all part of it. That was all figured in.
Okay, okay,
We would have staff that is doing the evaluations. Public Works has been maintaining the system and doing a good job of it over the last year and a half. And, you know, we're going to continue with that. But if we have a major repair that needs to be done, that's beyond in-house capability. That work would be subcontracted out.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could add a little bit of information. One of the things we're really trying to do is to get on a proactive response and schedule. The points about operations and maintenance, Public Works has taken over the cleaning of the sewers, and every once in a while you might see that sewer truck in your neighborhood that will cut roots and things like that. The televising is very important because if we can get in proactively, get a better handle on our system, we could do relining work instead of, if we wait too long, the sewer collapses. That is a huge problem. Aside from the disruption of service, it's also it's much more expensive, probably twice as much. There's also a possibility you have to cut tree roots. There's all kinds of disruption to the neighborhood. But by televising it proactively, we can see where there's problem areas, problems where there might be the starting to damage, not collapsed yet, but then we can go in and reline the sewer, and that's the most efficient way to respond to sewer problems, rather than waiting until after the fact and the sewer collapses and it becomes a much more expensive reconstruction job.
So is that repiping around the troublesome area?
Right,
Okay.
right. Actually, it's a lining. It's amazing how it's done. It kind of revolutionized sewer repair. Where the sewer is actually, you see where there's cracks and so forth, but you just reline it. And it's the nuts. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I know they can do that camera thing for your water pipes too,
Yeah.
from a well, if you're experiencing problems, which is
Right.
quite a technology. Okay, that's all
All right.
I had.
Thank you for coming this evening and bringing this to our attention and the rest of the citizens that I know are watching you right now.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have staff and elected officials reports. Let's start with just going down the line. Chief Steffen?
Thank you, Mayor Helmer. The July 1st Rockin' the Runway event went off without a hitch. We had no issues whatsoever. Everybody behaved themselves. We got people in, got people out, and I couldn't think of a better operation to have ran that day. I don't think we could have improved upon it. It was truly everybody working together, all hands on deck, and I am very proud to say that we were able to pull it off and not have any issues. Same thing with the parade. Everybody has a chance, if they'd like to go past Public Works and kind of take a look to the north. The community garden is in full bloom, and it's really, pardon the pun, but taking root. You see a lot of folks out there working and talking to their neighbors and talking with their officers, and it's a pretty good thing. There was a little article last week in the paper, and you really should go take a look at it yourself to get an idea of really what we've done out there. So the next thing, Officer Mike Coglanish just came off probation, and I'd like to congratulate him in front of the council for making it through this period. He's been tested and tried and found to be a good fit for the Prospect Heights Police.
His initial hire probation.
The initial hire probation.
Chief.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, initial hire probation, yes, sir. But that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, that's all. Alderman Ludwigson.
I'd just like to say the parade went extremely well, and would like to thank both churches for their allowing us to use their parking lots and having the event afterwards. It was really well attended, and it was a good time. And the same thing with the airport fireworks. They were really good, and hopefully we can figure out what to do with that going forward to keep that going. That's it, thank you.
Are you going to thank anybody for your ride?
What happened?
So are you going to thank anybody for your ride?
Alderman Dollar, please.
I would just also like to say that I got a lot of positive feedback from residents as I mingled around, especially on the July 1st. A lot of people had positive comments. They said that they were entertained, they felt safe, a great place to take their children. So good work on everyone's part between the airport, our city, as well as Wheeling. Thank you.
Alderman Rosenthal.
I will echo that, and I won't repeat it again, but it was great. My grandson enjoyed the parade immensely, and we'll do it again hopefully next year. Within Ward 2, at least particularly in Rob Roy, the summer parties have started again, and they've been a great success so far. The Strategic Directions Committee met on June 15th, and we began a discussion of what we would like to see, how we want to change and modify the process by which we're doing the budgeting in coming years. And we're going to continue that conversation at the July 20th meeting, which is coming up. Also at that meeting, I had a conversation today with Jim Tenaglia regarding the plan that was approved. His company was approved to do the plan for the conceptual design of a city center. That document will be part of our discussion on Thursday, July 20th, going forward. There's a couple of items that have come up in my follow-up file that I raised with Administrator Wade regarding, number one, the computer disaster recovery program that we have in place. We have it at least on paper. Whether or not we've ever tested it yet, we should probably do that at least one time. And then a follow-up on the Sanders Road project. which was being undertaken, I believe it's by the county. And then we had some things that we wanted to implement for IT going forward with some of the old equipment, and I'd like to get a report at some point where we stand with that implementation. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Deputy Clerk Schultes.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It would sound like an Academy Award speech if I thanked everybody for the 4th of July parade, but all the elected officials were there, the police were great, Public Works, Patrick taking pictures, and Rich, our Grand Marshal, also providing the music. It was just wonderful. Thank you, everybody.
All right, if I could add that Father Kurt was also his partner from St. Alphonsus. We had 2 grand parade marshals, fire marshals, whatever we call them. It's all the right title, so no problem there. All right, moving along, we'll get back to you, Joe. Let's go with Wendy Morgan, our city clerk.
Okay, just wanted to bring to everybody's attention that the Wheeling Prospect Heights Chamber is having their golf outing on July 20th at the Chevy Chase Country Club, which is at 1000 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling. 11:30 a.m. is the chamber golf outing, and 5:30 p.m. is the chamber dinner. So we look forward to seeing hopefully many of our residents and at the golf outing. Also want to echo the great time everybody had at the parade. It was great participating, and it was a wonderful parade this year. Really appreciate it, and hope we'll have a bigger one next year. Just want to also add that a lot of people were concerned with what happened last week with our legislator regarding the local government distributive fund. Wanted to just clarify that although there is a 10% cut in 2018, there's going to be 2 extra payments, 14 payments instead of 12, which should offset any, pretty much most or all of the cut that's taking place in 2018. And then 2019, everything will be reinstated, at least at this point, to 12 payments and our normal rates, our normal local shares. So that's actually good news.
All right, thank you for Ward 1, Alderman Messer.
I was going to echo the majority of the comments about the holiday weekend. The runway, the rock the runway, and the parade were all fabulous. I had all positive comments. I'd like to thank the volunteers. The volunteers at the Run the Runway were fabulous, cheering us on, giving us water so we didn't dehydrate, those of us who don't usually run. And I received some specific compliments about the police helping people turn in and out of the fireworks event. They said it was so smooth getting in and out with all the traffic, and they really appreciated the work of the police department.
Man, it echoes that we have a great team here. Everyone has preceded me, but I echo all those things. How about Dan Peterson from Planning and Zoning, please?
I want to bring the council and citizens up to date. Building Development Department with Officer Perzicki leading the way in cooperation from Officer Duran and the Police Department. We held our first multifamily owners kind of educational forum back on June 28th. It was attended by 15 of the owners that represented a large share of the people that owned buildings in the department. And we talked about our expectations, how the owners can help their residents, work with the police and the community. And we also brought in groups to talk to them about opportunities in redevelopment. Representatives from the Community Investment Corporation was there. They talked about landlord training, assistance, how to monitor credit checks. We had a gentleman from the Housing Opportunity Development Corporation talk about, if there's anybody interested in selling housing and how they could help. And then I want to give a special thanks to Ms. Miriam Campbell of the Buffalo Grove Bank and Trust, a member of the Wintrust family, who's a member of the chamber, who kind of jumped right on board when she was done with this. So it was a great event. We're looking to do another event with the landlords and their tenants on residential banking forums, and a couple of different groups are there. So we're starting to reach out and do more of that with the owners in our east side, and it was well received.
Okay, Mr. Falcone, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For those individuals that may have missed the 4th of July festivities, they can go to our website If they're not already signed up, they can sign up for our e-news, our weekly e-news, or our social media, primarily Facebook, and they can see all the wonderful pictures that Patrick Colvin, our, I guess, our digital technician guru in the back there, has taken of the parade and everybody else. Also, I'd like to let everybody know there's a Natural Resource Commission meeting this Thursday at 7 p.m. in this very room. And on Saturday at 8 a.m., there's a Water Committee meeting. End of my report.
Thank you. Our CFO, Michael?
Sure, Peter's thankfully didn't have to run the warrant list or the payroll this past week. It seemed to have gone off without a hitch. I just wanted to let the council members know that we did receive the listings that we had requested from Cook County, providing us with the addresses we need for special service areas 1 through 4 to allow us to accommodate the sewer billing that will go out later at the end of this month. We're looking right now to see if we can take the file we received from Cook County and actually have our software company actually load it into the system, but if not, it'll be done manually. That's all I have.
Thank you. Alderman Williamson?
Thank you. I don't want to be redundant, so I'll just say I echo the sentiments of everybody else that thanked everybody for the 4th of July festivities. On a personal note, I thought that the route that we took this year was fantastic. I thought it was much more conducive to people walking in it, and I did get a lot of compliments about that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Administrator?
Well, Mr. Mayor, those were great reports, but I think we saved the best for last. I'd like to introduce to council tonight our new Public Works Superintendent, Mark Roscoe. Mark is coming up. Mark comes to us from the Village of Buffalo Grove Public Works Department. He received glowing references, as he also did from his time with AT&T Ameritech. He distinguished himself through the selection process, presented a great plan as a follow-up interview, and selection. Part of the selection process was a plan as to what he would do as a public works superintendent. And I'll leave it to you, Mark. We're happy to have you here tonight.
Thank you. Keep going. I don't have to say anything, man. It's great. I echo his sentiments exactly. No, thank you very much. I look forward to the opportunity, and you won't be disappointed.
We should also mention you spent 9 years on the Planning and Zoning group with Dan Peterson and others over the years. Congratulations on that. I just want to know one thing. Are there any buffaloes in Buffalo Grove?
Just hanging up in the city hall. There's a head. So.
Human or?
No, just a buffalo head.
Pictures?
No, real buffalo head. So that's it.
Oh, buffalo heads.
Buffalo head.
Okay. Well, there is something
Taxidermy.
to go with it, yes. Well, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Welcome. I know you'll do a great job.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Today is Mark's first day, and we're very lucky and happy to have him. So, and that's my report, Mr. Mayor.
All right, what do we have next? There is no consent agenda from what I can see.
No, sir. We have under old business, second reading of ordinance establishing prevailing wage rate for the city of Prospect Heights. This is an annual requirement.
Okay, this is a second reading. It's up for approval. Can we have questions? Well, let's go ahead and approve it and then ask questions.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
We have it. We have a second. We have a second. Okay, discussion. Anyone? Say yes, say no, say move on. All right, there being none. Am I right? There being none? Let's take a roll call.
Okay. Alderman Rosenthal?
Aye.
Alderman Dolick?
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson?
Aye.
Alderman Messer? Alderman Williamson?
Motion passes 5-0. Under new business, the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement, we're going to table that. There's a lot involved with the new IGA coming out. We just got our copy this week, Wheeling, or in the last week, and Wheeling has had time to peruse and change, and have had it for at least 4 or 5, 6 weeks. So moving on, if I can have a motion to table B017-19.
So moved.
No, wrong one.
Sorry, 11A.
table.
Just number 8, how's that?
Yeah.
I don't have to say anything. All right, we have a motion to table, and we have a second, please. We have that. Roll call.
Alderman Messer? Aye. Alderman Williamson?
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson?
Aye.
Alderman Rosenthal?
Aye.
Alderman Dolick?
Aye.
All right, Joe.
Brings us to,
Motion passes 5-0.
which brings us to item 11B, and this is a staff memo and ordinance increasing the number of tourism board members from 5 to 7. This allows membership from the Ramada, which is about a year old now, Mr. Mayor?
Just about getting there, yes.
Getting close to a year, and also from the city's finance department. And this is first reading.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a comment. I know it's first reading and there's no vote on it.
Right.
My concern was is that we're going to place somebody from the finance department on that board, and the finance department is the one charged with reviewing the applications for the grants and basically approving them on our behalf. There's probably no problem with that, but it's just kind of odd to have a person who's going to be reviewing and giving a recommendation of approval for the grants and also being on that board. I wasn't quite sure why somebody from the city was going to be on there. Is it just to make it 7, or is it to, was there another reason?
Well, we review the budgets at that meeting, and, the background has been presented by our former CFO at each of the meetings. We need someone that has the numbers, that can explain the numbers to the board if necessary, and that was the reason it was put on. Although we did want to go with 7 also.
May I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Is it wise to add more voices into this? I mean, you can always attend a meeting and be heard. You don't necessarily have to be a director, and you're going from 5 different opinions to 7 different opinions now, or potential.
You're right. However, we do have, all the hotels have a representative, so that's why Ramada is on the list. We formerly had our former CFO do the reporting on the numbers. That's not something new, that's just a replacement. So I think Ramada has asked to be on the board, as every other hotel is on the board. There's no rhyme or reason beyond that.
Okay, well, I just think that we're adding more fingers in the pie, so to
Well,
speak.
we're more decision makers that, focus on that issue. When they come here, we have to think about what they tell us. We don't sit in board meetings and analyze the issues and come up with a decision. It's much like the airport board that comes in and tells us what's going on. I have no problem either way, but the Ramada, I think, has a right to be on there. And I think someone with a number should be on there. Now, if you're saying eliminate someone else, we can look at that. I don't know who. Dan, are you on that board?
No, I'm there as a liaison, staff.
Well, you report, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Karen, who else do we have?
I'm on that board. I'm on the board, but we always have a public works person, the CFO, and building and development director there, but they don't have, in the past, they haven't had voting positions.
How many of the hotels actually have a person on the board?
3. So we have
Hilton, Crown Point.
Hilton, Crown Plaza, and Countryside,
I'm sorry, Crown Plaza.
Countryside Inn.
Yeah,
And you're on the board,
And the mayor.
we wanted to maintain some control of that board for obvious reasons. They work for us, they generate income for us. It's good that someone from the city's involved. If you'd like to take my position, I volunteer, and I don't mean that to be funny, I'm serious. But I think we do need city representatives there.
Oh, I don't begrudge you that. I'm saying if if you put too many people on a board, obviously it gets convoluted and you have more strife within it, or the potential to have that. And I was just saying, if we're adding 2 more people, it sounds like we already have,
We're adding
more
one
than
more
5
person.
people.
It's a replacement. The new person is
Okay.
the Ramada.
Okay.
For clarification then, how many are on the board? What is the total number of authorized on
Two
the
of
board?
us from city and 3 hotels.
Say again, I'm sorry.
2 city people, Karen, myself,
Right,
and 3 members from the hotels.
so that's 5 people?
5 people.
And
Okay.
the finance director.
No, the finance director attended the meetings, but did not have a voting position in the past.
But will now have a voting position?
The intent was to replace her. I don't think we had an intent to give her a voting position, or him, whoever. Is that right?
Well, the way it's written up now, there would be 5, and 2 more added would have a voting position. I believe
So
that's,
voting
So you would
position
keep an
would be
odd
7.
number.
that would be 7, yes. They'd be voting.
Well, we certainly don't need the CFO to be the voting makeup. And, let us study this for another go-around. This is only a discussion right now. I mean, if that's your issue, or if that's what you want, I have no problem with any of it, certainly. And I've sat on that board from day one when we put this thing together. They're good people, they make good decisions. But,
If you're looking for someone else from the city, yeah, I'd be happy to do it.
okay, good to know. Remember, they have their own budget, they have their own power to spend money.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand it.
We didn't have much different than the airport. All right, so we discussed it, we'll come up with something by next meeting. I'm sorry?
I said Scott can be number 6 then, and Ramada can be number 7. There's your 2 extra people.
I
So
think
we
one of
still
them
have
is a-
7.
Yeah, they still have 7. One's a replacement.
I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
you're not
that's where I was
replacing,
going.
they're
There'd be
saying
2
there's
additions.
5 right now, so Scott.
Really not where I was going.
You said you,
Nick said that he
It
wanted
says
to
tourism.
step
No, I-
aside,
Oh,
and
he's
somebody else
coming
do it.
down.
I'm ready.
Well, Nick, you're not allowed to
I'm
do that.
tired.
Sorry, Mayor.
All right, let's move on.
Item 11C is a staff memo and ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 5 of the Prospect Heights City Code relating to sewer service rates. As discussed previously with Ms. Lee, this proposes a sewer rate increase to residential customers of $20 per month. And the primary reasons are that we can undertake a systematic, proactive maintenance and repair program of the city sewer system, as well as to have a fund balance. As Ms. Lee pointed out from the newspaper article, all the money that, from the sewer rates must go to expenses related to running the sewer system. So it won't pay for police or community development, things like that. It must be related to the actual cost of the sewer system.
All right, questions, please? Anyone? This is a first reading, so
Correct.
want to further discuss it? Yes, no, maybe?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. We have a winner.
So on the chart, it used to be dwelling units as defined in the zoning ordinance, non-residential units, and non-residential buildings with 2 or more units. Now it's residential users, commercial users, multi-unit base, multi-unit, each additional unit. So, like the dwelling units as defined, is that the residential and commercial users? And like, can someone explain like how they're carrying over from one to the next since they're defined differently now?
Sure, the rate structure, and this is, it's a common rate structure. Ours is a difficult one to evolve from because we do not meter water. So whereas other communities base it on rates based on water usage, because that's also water that's going to be treated, we had to come up with a rate system that was a bit different from that. But essentially, we've tried to have it for generally commercial users have a higher use of water. So that's also a higher use of treated water. So that would be $24.50. Residential is $20. A multifamily building is a bit of both. We have a rate for the structure itself as well as for the number of units. And we probably spent about 6 or 7 months to come up with that rate process, but we kind of feel that that's the closest to the charge for what a person or what a property would be using, and therefore what they would be paying for.
Okay, but how does this compare to the old chart? So like if someone wants to see, okay, it read this way, $650 per month per unit, what classification are they falling under now? Are they the $20 a month, or are they the $24.50 a month? Do you want to look at this real quick? So see, like this was scratched out and it was replaced with this chart. So where it was $650 per unit, is it now 20 or the $24.50? Was the 16 what's now 49?
Right.
So that people, you know what I mean, to know what, I mean, I think the residential, single-family home owners can compare more because they actually get their bill, but those, who are in, condominium buildings,
Yeah.
looking at the old chart to the new chart, what are they comparing to so they know how much their rates are increasing?
The difficulty is the charts actually primarily it was under the Old Town system would have been based on assessed valuation. So it really didn't have that structure. We really tried to come up with a structure that's different. The Old Town system, it was paid on the property tax bill. It wasn't per household. It was really based on what the value of that household was, the same way as, let's say, your property tax would be calculated for the other one. So I'm sorry, I really can't answer that.
Laura, I may be able to answer. So if you're a single family homeowner, your rate will go from $650 to $20. If you're a multi-unit residential, the building itself will have that $49 base, and then each unit in that building will have a $625 fee. So
Okay, I get that. What I'm trying to figure out is
What was it
the
before?
single-family homeowners know they were this before, this is what they're paying now.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm not clear on by looking at this is what were the multi-unit, like the condo units paying before versus what they're paying now. So how much of an increase are they incurring with the change?
Kevin, can I answer it? When the Old Town dissolved, and we had to establish a base rate to take it over, all that we had in the code at the time was the $650 per residential unit. So there was, under their old code, there was no dollar value for the Old Town because none of the multifamily was in the Old Town sanitary district. So there's where you're having the disconnect and trying to establish that side. And if you look at where it says multi-use, it was mainly to address the multifamily, or the non-residential, the commercial properties that you have one building owner with 20 units or something to that effect. Because most of the multifamily properties in town are east of Wolf Road and are already being served by Illinois American under their sewer on that side of town.
So basically, there's no way to let those who are condominium unit owners on the east side know how much they're actually, the increase is.
And if they aren't changing because they're not affected, so those particular buildings should be the same.
So they're not going to be under the system that's being controlled by the city?
I do not believe if they're already being managed by Illinois American Water, correct, Kevin?
Yeah, most of the east side is.
Yeah.
Illinois
right,
American.
this only affects the city, basically the old town sanitary that was.
Okay, so we're
consolidated
not
with the city.
merging it in to have the city all under one system, then it's going to stay.
The city, anybody served by the city system will have one rate structure, but people who are served by Illinois American will still be served by Illinois American.
correct me if I'm wrong, this only serves Ward 2, 3, and 4, or only impacts it. 1 and 5 are under Illinois American.
As far as I know, everything east of Wolf Road is already on Illinois American water.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, what was that, a first reading?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, let's move on.
Brings us to workshop items. We've had previously listed a review of city liquor code, discussion of sanitary sewer system, and discussion of commercial truck parking regulations. Liquor code, I believe, is still under examination, discussion of sanitary sewer system. One other point I just failed to mention, that also a big part of the new rate structure is the city has had about 500 properties that are under special service areas. And there's an equity issue because those homes, single-family homes, they've been paying, based on the assessed valuation model, of approximately $300 per year. So this rate structure also accounts for that. So for some people, your rates will go up from $6.50 a month to $20 a month. But for others, it's going to decrease from where they're paying $300 or more per year to $240. I didn't want to miss that. And then the other item we have is for discussion tonight is the commercial truck parking regulations. Dan Peterson has done some work with Code Enforcement Officer Mike Borzicki to at least to kind of get a handle of what the issue is. And Dan, if you can walk us through what the items for consideration are for tonight's discussion.
Okay, thank you. You all should have received in your packet a cover memo. What I did tonight is, for everybody out there, summarize what the issues are that we're discussing. First of all, it's commercial vehicles, and to adequately take a look at it, our commercial vehicles are regulated by our zoning code under section 582, which is technically our parking regulations. Currently, our zoning code allows for the parking of vans, trucks, and commercial vehicles up to 8,000 gross vehicle weight, which is a state of Illinois classification B plate, with no restrictions. You can park them on your driveway, out front, doesn't have to be stored in a garage. However, when we go into the commercial vehicles, which are tend to be a little larger, the city does have some restrictions on vehicles between 8,001 gross vehicle weight pounds and 12,000 GVW. Those vehicles under the state of Illinois are classified as a Class D designation. Those vehicles shall be parked in a garage or fully enclosed structure, except they may be parked in the open on the front driveway or in a buildable area behind the front building line or in the rear of the yard with the following conditions. So as you can see, it starts to get a little tricky. The conditions are, you can have no more than one in a non-garage site. It cannot be closer than 5 feet to the property line, and it shall be screened from view to an adjacent property with a direct view of where the vehicle will be parked. While that's a little discretionary, we use opaque shrubbery such as arborvitaes, dense bushes, not deciduous where the leaves will come down, or a 6-foot-high fence to screen. You know, that's what we're looking for. Additionally, our zoning code does talk about commercial or recreational vehicles, and some of those tend to be large campers, mobile homes, large boats, those types of things. And our code does allow no more than 2 vehicles of any combination, commercial or recreational. However, you can't have more than 1 commercial vehicle under our code. So if you had a camper and a large boat or a trailer, you could have both of those, and they may be parked in the open. And then finally, any vehicle in excess of 12,000 pounds gross vehicle weight are prohibited, strictly prohibited, and aren't allowed, except in a condition where if a service guy is at your house, working on your house or doing that, and he can temporarily park in your driveway or on the street while he's performing work. But it cannot be stored there overnight or permanently. These are examples of trucks that can be parked at any time in the open. These are all B-plate trucks and are permitted. We have the Sprinter-type vans up in the upper left. We have the same thing with no signage on the right. The van down in the lower left has ladder racks and printing on it is allowed. And the box truck is a B-plate based on its weight category. All of those are permitted, no questions asked. Okay. These are examples of commercial vehicles that are parked in compliant conditions. Back behind the front of the house, if you look in the upper left-hand corner, that's a large D-plate pickup truck with commercial equipment on it, toolboxes and such. But he's parked behind the front of the house, screened by shrubs, you know, off the side on a hard surface, fully compliant. Same with the red truck. It's got the ladders. It's behind the front of the building. It's protected by a fence. And then this one on the bottom is similar to the first ones, but it's a heavier vehicle and has a different plate classification and is also screened from view from the neighbors. These are examples of D-plated trucks that are not permitted to be parked where they are. The top one is a heavier van. It's got ladder racks. It's got printing all over. The red one, even though it doesn't have printing, is obviously a large work commercial truck in the front, unscreened. And then the ones on the side pulling the trailer, parked with multiple work trailers. Those are examples of vehicles that should not be parked or stored on the front of the house. And then finally, we have these two examples. The picture on the left, the van actually is a fully compliant B-plated van with a ladder rack and logos. The pickup truck is actually an F-plate, which is a very heavy truck, and it has dual tires, and it's designed to tow a big trailer. And then the picture on the right has a truck with an aerial lift bucket truck, which is non-compliant in town. Those shouldn't be here at all. And yes, we have started notices on them as well. But that, I just wanted to give you a summary of what the basis of the discussions were and where we're looking, what is considered compliant, what is non-compliant as a basis for the discussion tonight. So, also in your packet, I did survey some of our neighboring towns, and I requested from Northwest Municipal Conference copies of surveys that they have done that show what other towns have done. Typically, what other towns have done in this case have looked at plate classification, which is very simple. You know, you drive by, you see a license plate, it's governed by the state. It tells us whether it should be there or not. Other towns have gone to measuring height, width, length. They've gone to measuring amount of signage. They've gone to restricting the top types of accessories that can be put on there in terms of ladders, equipment, toolboxes. So there's a lot of different ways in which to address this. Just need some direction on which way the council would like to go. I do want to admit that and state that in the last 2 years since Officer Perzicki has been on doing this, the number of commercial type vehicles that are non-compliant are significantly less than what they were when we started. And if we go backwards, Peter, one more. The truck in the upper left, that was a gentleman that 2 years ago, or a couple years ago, was not compliant. He'd park it in the front. When he found out what the rules were, he parked it off to the side like that, which is fully compliant, doesn't cause any neighborhood issues. So, you know, I think with a lot of education, we can get more to that area. Plus, we're very fortunate in town that we have larger lots that if someone wanted to build a detached garage in the rear yard, most of them have the ability to do that without too much problem. And I know the zoning board has recommended approval of some side yard variations to allow driveways to give folks access to get their vehicles in the rear yard. So that's what I have to share tonight, and open for discussion or comments or questions.
Anyone, please? Alderman Williamson?
Oh, yeah. Dan, thank you very much. I think that you did a really nice job of putting this together. To expand on what you were saying about other municipalities near and far that restrict the parking based on height, length, signage, all that. There are also communities that have restricted commercial, they just put a ban on parking commercial vehicles. Okay, and if I read that right, Arlington Heights is one of those. Glenview was one of those. Deerfield and some others that were relatively near. My concern is not necessarily banning all commercial traffic, okay? But this, to me, is acceptable, okay? This is someone who has laid gravel onto the side of their house in an effort to just park their car in the back. My guess is, and I'm only assuming that there was no permit to extend a driveway or do anything there. Over time, the trucks have gotten bigger. You used to have, an Econoline van that, was roughly 6 feet high, and now you have the Sprinter vans that have gone to 7, maybe 8, or even taller. If we're going to put restrictions on, I think that, to say you can only have one commercial vehicle, which is already in our code, is one thing, but because this truck is here, the guy across the street shouldn't have to stare at it. Okay, the guy next door shouldn't have to look at it. There's nothing screened about that whatsoever, and I understand you call that compliant or not.
It's compliant because based on its weight, the state of Illinois issued a B plate, which allows it to be parked like that.
But can't we differentiate between B plate as a casual vehicle or whatever you want to call it, or B plate as a commercial vehicle? I mean, this is obviously a commercial vehicle.
Yeah, so is the one on the lower left, and the
Well,
two,
you can certainly identify a commercial vehicle by signage.
the two at the top, the two Sprinter vans are taller than a lot of them. Actually, those two commercial vans are taller than, oops, let me back up a second here. The bottom, come on. The bottom one in the center is also a Sprinter style van. That's, where'd it go? That is actually shorter in height than the two B plate ones. It's just that the frame, the design of the vehicle gives it a different classification. So at what point, from a staff perspective, is just, whatever we lay out, but it has to be very clear, consistent, and something that's not going to put the inspector into a very judgmental position.
Do we restrict by height today?
No.
Okay. Because I saw that some said 7, some said 8.
Some said 9.
Well, it said 9 with a load.
Correct.
Okay, but the vehicle itself couldn't exceed 7 or 8, depending on the community. And I think that to put some of these restrictions in print certainly gives you a foot to stand on when you go to say, hey, you need to do something about this. But in my mind, everything needs to be beyond that front, what do you call that?
The front line of the
front line of the house. Okay, preferably I'd love to see a garage, but the reality is it wouldn't happen.
Not everybody.
But something needs to be done to clean it up beyond where it is now. Because again, I can't stress enough that, you may be working, you may be having this truck, but all your neighbors don't have to be part of your business. They don't have to be staring at your business all day. They're at home trying to, enjoy the rock time. Give that respect. So I'd love to hear anybody else's input on this too.
Aren't you basically,
Could you address the chair, please? What was your question?
my question is to the mayor, through, to Alderman Williamson, through the mayor. Is, what you're basically saying is changing criteria as to what is how they're classified. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're right. And not necessarily, because right now we're saying, well, the B truck is acceptable on all levels. Well, a pickup truck that you drive every day can be a B truck. just as much as, the big cube van, that sits there and.
For example, my pickup truck's a V truck.
Right, exactly right. I mean, anything over, beyond a car is a B truck and below a heavy truck. So, I'm just looking to, personally, I'm looking for something that the rest of the neighborhood doesn't have to live with it, because it is a residential district, it's not a commercial district, and, what can we do?
Well, anyone else, please?
Right.
Alderman Ludwigson?
You can comment, I'll wait
All right.
till you're done.
I was just going to say, we've got some very astute people that work with us here. And Mike Przicki is one of them. Certainly Dan is one of them. Certainly you are one of them. It would seem that the 2 or 3 of you can come up with a list of things that works better without being too onerous or too heavy on the people that, have vehicles that they need to have on their front or on their side. So you have restrictions and come up with reasonable restrictions. You can't say, well, you can only have a 4-foot-high van, for example. So I'd like to see that kind of input, but certainly ideas are always good. Alderman Ludwigson?
I was just gonna say that, just like anything, something that's allowed can be shaded in a way that makes it worse than something that's not allowed. I mean, I'm sure there's a D-plate truck that would look just fine with dual-wheel pickup truck, and it might be a D-plate and not allowed out in front of the house, but it's just a truck somebody wants to have and is nice. It's the thing he drives all the time versus that B-plate truck that's got the ladder rack, the welder on the back, and he's dropped his plow for the season in the front yard. That's, I think, what we're trying to avoid, and it's got so-and-so landscaping or so-and-so snow removal on the side. So I don't think it's as much as the B versus D plates. I think it's more of, when you see it, what does it look like? What are they trying to do? And, I agree, I don't think we should have leathered trucks with ladder racks with a welder being towed behind it, pulled in the driveway and say, well, they're compliant. Because to me, that's not what we're trying to do, is just say whether you're compliant or not. We're trying to make sure that it looks appropriate. So I think we need to maybe not concentrate as much on the plating of the truck versus what it's being used for and what the driveway is being used for, because the trucks are there in a commercial fashion. If somebody plows and they have a landscape company, they got 2 B trucks, they drop both plows at the front of the driveway at the end of the season, leave them there all year, and it's got their name on the side of the truck and garbage cans and ladder rack and there's a B plate, I don't want to see it either. I don't know how we do that, but I think that's what we need to address.
Mr. Mayor, if I could respond
Yes,
to
sir.
that and your point as well. Mayor, you had said that, you think that myself and Dan and Joe and Przicki should get together and discuss this. We have. And what Dan wanted to know is, he wanted to get a gauge of what the rest of council is feeling, because I'm one person, okay? And there's 5 more board members here that, should weigh in on this. And if you trust my judgment to work with Dan and Przicki and Joe, we can move forward that way and take it out of an open session and just work at a staff level. But, I'd like to know if is everybody on board? I don't want to be speaking for everybody else if they don't trust me to do that.
Yes, Alderman Rosenthal.
Oh, then for what it's worth, I would agree with the description that Alderman Ludwigson just gave about what would be appropriate and what wouldn't be appropriate. I don't know if that helps you or not.
Oh, no, I agree. I understand it.
Okay.
I think that one of the outcomes and goals of this as we go through is that, yeah, there are a lot of hardworking guys, but it's just at what level, we can get as small as 1 square foot of signage. We can get to no signage. There's towns that have done all kinds of different address this in different ways to get to the same goal. It's just that when we do get to that point, so it's easily enforceable, it's not overly burdensome, and it's something that we can do consistently throughout town.
Right, and there's no loophole, if you will. I mean, you're trying to close loopholes and have everything be black and white.
Mr. Mayor, just one more comment.
Yes, sir.
There are plenty of people, and I'm not going to name names or give addresses, that do it right. that do exactly what I'm talking about, but do it in a manner that I'd love to have them as a neighbor, and they've got a D-plate truck in their garage, and they've got their welder and their implements and whatever they do, you would never know.
And we already have them as neighbors.
So that's right. So, I mean, that's not what I don't want anybody who hears this to think we don't want people that are, tradesmen that do this and can't do it. You just have to do it right, that's all.
And I'm not looking to spearhead this mission like a couple of, other towns, that touch us, but, they don't allow commercial vehicles at all. That's not what I'm looking to do, okay? It's those few people that have taken advantage of it and, effectively littered the neighborhood with their, with commercial trucks that makes you think, boy, we need to do something to address this so that we can enforce this.
I would just like to add the comment for what it's worth. I am on board with you on this. Since you brought this up about a month ago, I took the time to drive around the city and noticed some of the good situations and not so good situations. Being on the east side, it's mostly condos where we don't allow that just because of the condo homeowners association. So it's not something that I saw until I started driving around. And just to echo Alderman Levingson's comments, the ones that I found the most of an eyesore is the equipment. Like you said, leaving a snowplow there all summer, other landscaping equipment, things that stack up that they're obviously running a business, and it's not so much a deflated truck or something like that that's sitting out there. It's some of the other equipment that just sits there for months on end.
Yeah. For example, Schaumburg had a caveat in their code that said, you could have a snowplow during the winter months, okay, attached to the truck in view. Okay, we don't do that. We say you can have a snowplow. Okay, so that's the kind of thing that we need to eliminate because they do. They sit there all year long, and they're littering the neighborhood.
I would agree.
Mayor Helmer?
Yes, ma'am.
Since Scott was looking for approval, I don't know if I can say I trust you 100% with my life, but I trust you to move forward. I agree with the comments that were made. I think Pat made great comments that it's not necessarily just the class of vehicle it is, but the appearance and what it's doing and the traffic it's bringing in and out of the community. But I have no issues with you working with the others to move forward.
Yeah, come up with a list that we can then check off and say, hey, here's what we have. We don't want that. We don't want this. We don't want that. And then the alternative, how can you cope with that? One of those pictures is a house or two or three away from my house.
See, now everybody knows where you live.
And I'm not going to name addresses or names either, but it's frustrating, and I can understand where people are frustrated. On the other hand, I don't think we've got a cadre of people that come marching in on here and say, change the truck parking situation. You have some complaints now and then. So, as you put it, you're not in favor of getting rid of all trucks, of course not. You've got people making a living, you've got people that drive a truck for recreational purposes, et cetera. So if you come up with a list that's acceptable without being overwhelming or undoable almost, I think that's really what we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for. And if the three of you are, I consider experts in this thing, you know more about every other city around us than all of us together do. Why? Because you've researched it. And that's the way to do it. I like to copy other cities on certain things, and I like to avoid things that other certain cities have. So that's a good way to do it. And if we start right now, and maybe in the next month or so, come up with something firm, then we can, we can get a vote on it, we can put it into
Okay, so you're open
an
to us working
ordinance and
together.
so on. That's what I'm asking for. If someone has a problem, they should speak up now with that approach.
Been trying to say something.
I didn't say I had a problem with that. No, I mean, my only concern is that, again, to be careful to not be unduly burdensome to people who make a living, with their trucks, and to make sure that we're not going to be, interfering with their livelihood. That's, my concern.
I know one city that allows no signage at all, but they have no problem with the magnetic thing going on in the morning and coming off at night when they come home. I mean, there's other things that can be done, I guess, but you can't cover everything. You won't be able to do that. But you can cover some things that are blatant. Some of these things are blatant.
It's a matter of trying to make it better, because at the end of the day, our job here is to make sure that, we're responding to what the people want. And this is something, it's not just something I came up with out of the blue. I mean, it's been brought to my attention. And, at the end of the day, it's going to improve property value. It's not going to take away from it.
All right, I think everybody's okay with going ahead with the three of you in particular, coming up with something. Are we good?
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other items for workshop discussion? Brings us to
Approval of warrants?
approval of warrants.
Okay. Well, I see the expenses for the period, other than the wire payments, is zero. And then wire payments, the 2017 payroll posting is, well, actually, everything is zero here. Total warrants is zero, unless I got the wrong copy.
No, I've got it too. Mike, what's the
Oh,
approach?
okay, wait a minute, I've got the right information now, thank you.
Oh, okay, there is another copy?
Okay,
Oh,
all right.
I had the wrong one.
Let's strike that since I now have the correct copy.
All right.
Okay. Total warrants for this period, total expenses for this period, $100,468.27. June 23rd, 2017 payroll posting, $164,792.55. And the total warrants are $265,260.82.
Motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Alderman Messer? Aye. Alderman Williamson? Aye. Alderman Rosenthal?
Aye.
Alderman Ludwigson?
Aye.
Alderman Dolick?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Moving on.
We have no other resident comments tonight. We do have a request for executive session for the purpose of discussing the
All right.
possible.
Is it
sale of
already
real
on the
estate.
agenda, or is this something new?
It's on the agenda.
Okay, then we can go ahead. What do we need, Kevin?
Mayor, can we get a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss pending litigation and the sale of city-owned property?
Okay, and we tabled the personnel issue, so, okay, we're good with that. Everybody want to make a motion to do that?
I move we go
Somebody
into
make a
executive
motion.
session for the reasons stated by our attorney.
All right, second.
Second.
Are you going to do a voice vote on this?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.